Hello everyone, B.Jr. here on B.Jr.'s Movie Cave on the Endurance Productions YouTube channel. Gonna slow it down today a little bit and vlog a little bit. Do the vlog style video where you just sit and talk. Might be boring to some, might be good to others. What I want to talk to you about today is just my thoughts and feelings on the current status, if you will, of the horror and or pop culture movie convention scene. That's the best way I can sum it up in title format. A convention of movie goers or movie-based conventions, even sci-fi conventions for that matter, Star Trek conventions, anything like that you're interested in. Convention going started for me about a good 3, maybe 4 years ago, where I started hitting it heavy, because I had something happen to me where I was just like, dude, you got to get out, you got to start doing more, you got to make time to do these kind of things. Save your allowance, get out and just go and try it and see if you like it. And if you don't do it anymore. But I liked it, so I kept doing it. If you've been tracking on my YouTube channel for last time frame, or last year or so, last couple of years really, you've seen video bits, and so I try to do videos from my conventions that I go to, stuff like that, or the halls after I get back. There's been a couple along the way that I haven't made videos at. I just wanted to experience just for myself and selfish like that, But I've told you about them here and there in my videos and whatnot. But most of the time I'll get some video or some pictures. I like to share my experience with it because I always like to tell people about it because it worked for me. If you're a movie nut like me, you're really going to like going to at least one of these. I think to have the experience, if anything. Meeting the guests, yes, but that's what I'm wanting to talk to you about, because horror conventions, I'm just going to go ahead and say flat out, the whole point of the video is times are changing for me with horror and or movie conventions, because I've been to sci-fi conventions, I've been to comic-based conventions, I've been mostly to horror conventions. They've all been great experiences for the most part. Some have been hotter than others, some have been smaller in scale than others. They're all a little different. They're all like a pedigree. They're all a little different here and there, but the needs for going to these are changing for me. I don't know if it's happening with a lot of my convention going buddies out there, or fellow buds on YouTube in the community that have been going to these things for years. Tell me, leave your questions and comments below after you see this video, because what I want to talk to you today about is just I started thinking about this. Mad Monster Party has been going for 2 years strong now in North Carolina, down in Charlotte, and I've really enjoyed the last 2 times going there. It's nice having a home show like that, because you don't have to drive all day, spend the whole day getting somewhere to like a neighboring state like I had in the last couple of years, Tennessee or whatever, wherever they're having them, like Kentucky or South Carolina has a couple too. So it's nice to have a home show. Yes, not complaining in any way, because I look forward to going next year. It's actually kind of like all these shows are starting to become a little more pop culture based. That's a trend I'm seeing. Friday Night Film Fest up in Louisville, Kentucky is really becoming like that, because they've got they got good guests. I mean, they've got William Shatner coming in, Captain Kirk, for crying out loud, and Gene Simmons from Kiss fame, and Stan Lee, legendary comic book creator. So, you have to do that. I can see it from their point of view as a business. They got to do that to keep themselves perpetuating on and keep new people coming in and keep interested, not just being pigeonholed into the one subgenre or genre of horror. I love horror, don't get me wrong, but it's just I also love comedies, and action films. It's just I can respect their wishes for doing that. At the same time, the guest lists are getting more and more overpriced. That's a trend I'm also seeing. The whole photo op bull crap, I don't pay for that anymore. Bruce Campbell was in Charlotte last year, or this past time, past March. I did get his autograph, and I stood in line for an hour and a half, whatever it was, to get it. He was a nice guy. I had a great experience just yakking with him for about a few seconds and getting my autograph. Took a picture of him signing autographs, but he was doing the extra photo op thing. I boycotted. I started boycotting, meaning I just don't take part in it. I'm taking a stand on it, whatever that means. because I just stopped paying for it. I did it one time, and I'll never do it again because it's not worth it. It's so radically stupid to pump that much extra money out, squeeze that much money out, extra out of the fans that have made you a star. And I know a lot of times it's not even the stars or the celeb guest, whatever you want to call them. It's not their fault. In about 50% of the cases, it's that dastardly little agent they bring with them that's calling the shots, and they have to listen to that person because that's who gets them jobs and perpetuates their career, basically. Okay, photo ops has been, if you're a convention goer or have been around the channel for a long time, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's dumb, it's stupid. I don't recommend anybody do it unless it's just somebody you absolutely love. Now, if it's George Romero, see, I even have my standards. And if I had a chance to meet John Carpenter again, I would that's the first instance I had experience with was Friday Night Film Fest 2011 when John Carpenter was there. That was the first time I ever heard of anybody doing a photo op. Linda Blair was trying to do the same thing at that convention, but then switched and let you do them at her table. See, it's just getting to where there's no standard anymore. A couple of my fellow YouTubers have been talking about this in bits and pieces here and there about conventions and whatnot, about how pricing's gotten so wacky. It's getting out of hand. It needs to be kind of pulled back in my opinion. The convention scene is great as long as it stays cool. It's getting to where now it's a little more challenge for the hardcore convention goer, that really wants to go every year and seek out a guest or two to get an autograph from. And see, that's the thing too. I'm losing my knack for just having to meet everybody. Money isn't everything, yes, but at the same time, you got to pay bills. You got to save for the future and rainy days. You can't just be gushing money down a toilet all the time on autographs because, let's face it, guys, just like with movie collecting, you can't take the crap with you. When you're gone, you're gone. It's just stuff that you like to surround yourself with and look at while you're here and enjoy it. And that's why tons of people on my YouTube channel are always commenting about, why do you get your autographs personalized? You should never get two Barry put on there or whatever. I let the person at the table or whoever I'm writing do what they want because that's part of the experience for me. If I stand in line for Bruce Campbell for an hour and a half plus to get his autograph, he can write to Barry, hey Barry, yo Barry, whatever, because I'm not going to get rid of that. I didn't stand in line for an hour and a half to go and try to sell it online or something. None of my autographs that I wait in line to meet these people, it's an experience for me. I wouldn't go through the trouble of traveling out to these places to go to these shows and spend the night in a hotel or whatever I've done. I want the experience for me. It's a selfish thing. I know it sounds selfish, but at the same time, you do it for yourself. It's up to you guys. And that's the beauty of it. You can do these autographs or meet whoever you want. You don't have to buy an autograph. That's a big misconception. Everybody's always griping about, I got to pay $20 to meet Rutger Hauer, or whatever at this convention. You don't have to pay them jack. You can walk right up to Danny Glover and say, Danny Glover, extend the hearty handshake and say, sir, I enjoy your films. Thank you for all the great film work that you've done. That's usually the extent of what I tell them. Like when I met John Carpenter both times, even at Shoney's, Pizzell can tell you about that. I'll tell you, that's not it was a funny story how we re-met John Carpenter at Shoney's at Friday Night Film Fest. He was in there by himself, and we just went over and said howdy again, and I've told that story to death. But the thing about it was, whenever you meet them in person, what I normally do whenever I meet one of these guests at the table, if I've been a long-time fan, I keep it simple. I don't super fanboy out on them because I don't want to freak them out, because I'm sitting there thinking that in my side of my head. I'm like, dude, I can't believe it, I'm meeting John Carpenter. Dude, I can't believe it, I'm meeting this Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface. Oh man, I've watched this guy for years. He scared me to death. I'm thinking that, but I always just extend a handshake. I always get me a handshake. I know I'm not phobic like that, but I just get a handshake. I say, sir, thank you for all your great great work in motion pictures, film, and television. Enjoy looking forward to every future project that you might have, or you may have, ma'am or sir. And then if they want to talk some more, they will. And then we just swap stories back and forth and just kind of, talk a little bit. Some people are more talkative, like Felissa Rose, Sleepaway Camp fame. She was an utter joy to meet because she was just super nice, and she was like us. She was just like a regular person that did some films back in the day and kind of does now, but but for the most part, a mom. She's just a regular person. She's not a snobby celebrity. She's not that kind of person. Um, and oddly enough, John Carpenter was very, very down to earth. He was just he asked my buddy Pizzell and myself, we said, thank you, sir, again, shook his hand, thank you for the great films. He's put his menu down. He's like, well, great, guys, that's great. What'd you have for lunch? He's just kind of like regular dude. And we sitting there telling John Carpenter about the breakfast bar at Shoney's. Felt kind of like goofy at this, it kind of weird and surreal at the same time, but at the same time it puts things in perspective. When you go to these conventions, you meet these people, they put their pants on the same way we do, guys. They don't, at least I think they do. And some are going to turn out to be, just talk to them. I mean, don't be afraid. Don't be an ass, but just talk to them. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. If they want to talk, they will. If they don't, move on. That's just the way it is. I don't even get that perturbed whenever one doesn't want to talk that much. When I met Zach Galligan, he was the most talking. He's the guy from Gremlins and Waxwork and stuff. He was the most talkative guy, but he wasn't a mean guy. He just kind of there, just kind of doing his thing, and he would answer a question if you had one. But it's just one of those kind of deals where I got to make a quick stop here, guys. The battery is running dead. I'll be right back. Hey, sorry about that, guys. Had to make a quick cut there. I don't like to do that a lot of times when I'm vlogging, but technology, it's always either with us or against us. This is going to be a lengthy video anyway, so basically what I was saying before there, when I met some guests are snobby, some are not, some are just not talkative. Don't take it personal. Try not, I'm not going to say don't, try not to take it personal when you go to these horror conventions is my best advice. Because sometimes you're going to have a great experience, sometimes you're going to be like, dude, I can't believe I watched this guy for years and, whatever. He just kind of leaves you whatever. So that's what's kind of got me feeling like, nowadays, unless it's like George Romero, one of the horror greats or something like that I would actually drive out to meet, one of those kind of missions that you have to perform, you have to get to meet them. My whole point was, you don't have to buy a doggone thing. You already pay enough trying to get to these places and pay for the tickets. Go up and talk to them. Have the experience. Sometimes, just sometimes, you have to ask them. Don't be afraid to ask. The worst they can say is no. Sometimes they will take a free picture with you, but you don't have to buy an autograph. It would be nice, but they don't. It just depends on the person. You'll be able to tell after you go to a couple shows who is actually there for the fans and who is there to make revenue. It's just the way it is. It's supposed to be a fun experience, and usually I look for the mid-range shows anyway. Friday Night Film Fest is a great show, but the one time that I went there, and many different reviews of other subsequent shows that from my buddies that I trust their opinion of, it's always got that historic thing. Friday Night Film Fest gets the goods. It gets the excellent vendor hall. It marries the Gigantor vendor hall. I remember it being humongous. And also a gigantic guest list, but to the point where it's just cluttered. It's a cluttered mess. It's never been run very... I can't say that I know how to do it better. I'm just saying my experience tells me, plus the reviews that I trust, they've always had a problem with just jamming too much into it. You get the goods, but you're going to be in there like this, like a sardine, and not know where half the stuff is at all times. Scarefest up in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, has always been a kind of a favorite one to return to for me because it's well managed, well organized. It's all in one gigantic hall. Vendors, guests, everything. They're getting more into the half horror, half paranormal thing. Don't even get me started on the paranormal thing. I used to be a Ghost Hunters watcher. My wife and I used to watch that show religiously. Not really because I believed in it, but just mainly because I liked the atmosphere of it, and it gave me. I like the technology of it. I like watching all their gadgets and ghost hunting stuff. But to a point that just got really dry, and then the deeper I read about these paranormal investigators like ghost hunters and stuff like that, how they treated their own personnel in-house, you never know. It's always secondhand information, but you start reading all this questionable stuff about their evidence and all that, and it's intriguing to see it on screen, but they those shows that you're watching on television, folks, the paranormal shows are heavily, heavily edited for television. I'll just say it that way. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't think it deserves to even be talked about. I've just kind of, it's not that I dislike them anymore. It's just that I've just kind of grown dry of that whole side of it. But their convention, Scarefest, back to the point, has become more of a half paranormal, half horror. It's a well-organized show. It's one that you can take a kid to. I think you could take kids to that show and you wouldn't have a problem. Fright Night was a little more adult-driven. And even Mad Monster Party in Charlotte this past year, the first year I went, you could take your kids. Last year, it just depends on the guest list. They had more of a retro horror plus new horror together, and a lot of the newer horror out there, like Human Centipede and stuff like that, is not something I would want my kids to be around. I'm sorry, I don't even have children, and I shouldn't even be saying this because I'm not a daddy. But I'm here to tell you, if I had kids, I'm already going to say they would not go. Some of these shows, I would screen them out pretty good. Mainly because the subject matter of the film that the guests are there to promote and or took part in. Now, if it's like a horror comedy, like the Ghoulies or something like that, or whatever, Troll or something like that, I wouldn't have a problem with my kids going and meeting the guests from that, or being around something like that. It's still more of a family show in Charlotte. Mad Monster Party's, it's delivered the goods the last couple of years, but I'm always on the lookout for smaller shows too, in South Carolina, Virginia, neighboring areas, but it's getting to where they've got to have the goods for me to actually want to drive out to it. I know it sounds kind of, I don't want to come off as being uppity when I say that, but it's just one of those deals where I've kind of been there, done that. I've met kind of mostly, thankfully, a lot of my horror greats, that I've set out, I've done kind of what I wanted to do. It's not the end of the road by any means, but nowadays the guests that I'm looking for is kind of the more obscure that I just don't know if they'll make it out to shows. I have my doubts. I don't want to say never, but like for example, Friday 5 is like probably one of my favorite go-to Friday films, as though it is a lot of people nowadays. Thankfully, it's one of the few Fridays I actually saw in the movie theater back in the day, and I've actually got a DVD that's been signed by 3 cast members and a 8x10 by Reggie the Reckless up there. It's one of my favorite Friday films, so just say it. But now, the guests that are coming out these shows, you're getting a lot of these repeat offenders. Danielle Harris, God bless her, she's a good little scream queen. She's at every single show. I'm not saying don't meet her by any means. She's an awesome guest to meet. The thing about it is, you're getting so many of the repeat ones coming out. I want to meet like Junior and Ethel from Friday 5. That would be the awesome duo. I would pay good money for the autograph and a photo with them together. I mean, that would be a photo op of epic proportions right now for me. It's those little. It's getting more obscure. It's the more obscure guests that I want to meet now. I want to know more about where they went to come up with their character, or what did they study to come up with their character. I'd like to meet the scream queens like Amy Steele and Adrienne King, and the ones that I still haven't met yet. They've just been kind of at other shows, and I've been at other shows, and it just hasn't worked out. There are ones that I would like to meet like that. It's just that, and I do want to meet Tom Sweeney. Everybody gets the big reputation as the eternal douche. Nobody wants to meet him because he's just very standoffish. Guys, it might just be the way the guy is. I'm not taking up for him, but sometimes they're just quiet, uppity people. A lot of people have a holier-than-thou attitude. I've never met Tom Sweeney. I couldn't tell you if it's a good experience or not. But if he was at a convention, I would probably get him to sign at least 2 things. Just to say I had the experience of meeting one of the best special effects men that ever was in the business. That's just the thing, that's where I come out. Like, it was do or die when I met Bruce Campbell. I was like, if he's a dick, he's a dick. I'm still going to meet him because that's one of those things I had to do to feel like I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. Same thing with John Carpenter. I had to at least say, when it's all said and done, I met my favorite director of all time. I had to do it. There are a lot of them out there, but they're getting more obscure as far as the guests. The whole Walking Dead guest thing, let's talk about that a little bit. The whole Walking Dead guest thing, I am a Walking Dead fan. I don't care what anybody says. That's a great little TV show. It's got great production value. I'll keep watching it. As long as it doesn't go super stale, I'll still watch it. But as far as going to a convention and paying good money to meet a Walking Dead person in person, and I'm not talking about walkers. They go without saying. I'm not paying them jack. It's just, that's silly. But like your cast members that are killed off, they're usually at a convention or something. I I wouldn't mind walking up to them and just talking to them. But as far as buying an autograph or something like that, no, I'm not doing it. Because guys, it's a, I did a video a little while ago. I filmed up a video for autographs through the mail. If you're really just wanting an autograph, if you're just an autograph nut or something, write it. Find out when they're filming in Georgia. Go to fanmail.biz. It's the same address for every cast member. Write them a letter and ask them for an autograph. 9 times out of 10, you'll get a freebie back in the mail. That's just the way it is. Why pay for somebody to scribble on a page when you don't have to? If it's just kind of like a mid-range person that you just either want to collect the autograph of, or just, if you just want to meet them, you can just meet them. But why pay for the autograph when you can get it for free? That's just, it sounds cheap, but that's just one of those deals where I don't really think you should pay for half these autographs whenever you go to these horror shows. I'm not being naive. I know that's the world we live in. But half these folks that are charging the same as like John Carpenter and stuff, that have had like a bit part in a movie that was like 30 or 40 years old. No, I just got to where I just don't do that anymore. Or if the person I usually do a little cruise around Celebrity Row before I start even thinking about pulling out my item out of my book bag or my poster tube or whatever I've brought with me, DVD, to get an autograph, because I like to just study the person. I like to talk to him for a little bit. Like when I met Stephen Jeffries, Evil Ed from Fright Night, you had that, I never listen to what people say. I have to make my own mind up. That's just the way I am. You read all the stories about his sordid history and big box videos and stuff like that in the past, and from what I read now, currently he's some kind of entertainment lawyer or paralegal or something like that. People move on. People change. People don't stay the same usually forever, due to different jobs or whatever usually. So I wanted to talk to him a little bit. I wanted to see for myself what this was all about. He was just a really mild-mannered little guy. You know, he's kind of a smaller guy, and he was just one of those guys that I just enjoyed meeting, even with the reputation that was there and everything. I was just like, dude, I don't really want to. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not even here to meet Evil Ed, because he's not Evil Ed, guys. He is just a guy that was in a movie that I've watched for years, and that I want to just ask him more about what he went through to put into the character, and also what his future projects are, what he's doing now. So I cruise around. I talk to him a little bit usually on Friday. Friday's the best time to go for autographs and meet celebs, because smaller lines, things of that nature, usually cheaper prices. And also you can find out if they're charging anything. A lot of times they're charging next to nothing. The writer of Dark Night of the Scarecrow, J.D. Fagelson, charged me $5 for an autograph on my Blu-ray. Felissa Rose, $10. And Felissa Rose didn't even really care if I paid her at all. She's like, okay, just whenever you want to pay me, honey, that's fine. I said, oh man, and I actually forgot to pay her right away. And I was like, oh crap, man, I better give her 10. So I went back and gave her $10. And I mean, there have been other times too when people have just signed for free, but you just had to catch them at the right time and in the right mood. Others are there to make money, so forth. But Stephen Jeffries and all that, like I said, getting back to that experience, I had a really good experience meeting him. I don't get into their personal lives either. I have my own political views, and I have my own views about the way I just believe the way I believe. I'm not here to talk about that, but at the same time, I respect them for what they're there to do. They're there to talk to you about their movie careers and or promote their new movie. So talk to them. I do a little cruise around first. Figure out what these people are all about. And that usually dictates, a lot of times when you see me gearing up and doing a video for a convention, I'm telling you about, what 8x10s I printed out to take with me, or what DVDs I'm taking with me to get signed, if anything, or what I'm on the lookout for in the convention. Usually I don't get all those signed, and there's probably a reason for that. Either I've talked to the person, they turn out to be a total dick, or I just don't want to pay them as much money as they're asking. because they're not worth it. I mean, I'm just going to say it. A lot of them aren't worth it. But some of them are guilty pleasures. I want them on my poster. I want to collect I want to collect all the autographs from Friday 5 that I can possibly get. I'll just say it that way. So if Melanie Kinnaman shows up at a convention and she's probably charging $20 or something, I'm thinking in my mind, this is bullshit. I don't want to pay $20. I'd rather pay $5 at the most or whatever, or get it free through the mail. Take a chance and see if I can get it through the mail. But if it's a movie that I really love and I'm collecting for it, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm more strategic now after I've been to a few shows. I think a lot of us go through the same thing where you don't really see it in the same light as you once did. It doesn't mean you don't want to go anymore. I guess what I'm trying to say in conclusion really to this video, this lengthy video, I go more for the experience now than anything. I just want to go, and probably the next convention I go to, I'll get maybe 1 to 3 autographs, and then I spend like a whole entire day, this like for Mad Monster Party in March, the whole Saturday was basically spent in the vendor hall, taking my time, getting some lunch, taking a break every once in a while. You're not in a big hurry, especially if you stay at the hotel. I got a chance to go around to every table, go to every vendor. I talk to the vendors, ask them where they're based out of. I'm interested in knowing more about the t-shirt sales and if they really work really well. The action figures, what action figures are selling good, which ones I need to watch out for. All that nerdy goodness, learning more about, that's the experience I go for anymore. I don't really go just to meet all the guests anymore and spend a whole bunch of money. I did that before, and I'm just I'm out of that now. I'll get a collectible souvenir here and there, but not in a big treasure trove like I once have. I'm just think I've done that now. I'm going to stop. That's a good place to stop because I think I've made my point time and time again. This is my time to stop and turn the vlog over to you guys. Do a video response. I'm really interested in knowing how you guys feel about conventions. It'll be sci-fi conventions, pop culture conventions, horror movie conventions, any type of fan-based convention. If you want to leave a video response, tell me your feelings. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me what you think about where conventions are going and what we'll see in the future versus what we've seen in the past. Rock on, dudes, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.